Hey guys, I am really excited for today's video. We're going to be talking about my mid-year favorites, my favorites so far in 2020, and I have seen a lot of YouTubers do it, and I've really been enjoying watching them, so I thought, ooh, I think this would be a fun video to do. So that's what we're going to be doing today. I tried to stick to products that were released this year. Otherwise, it was just, this video would end up being like 3 hours long. I don't know if I was successful in that, but we'll see, because a lot of things I'm not exactly sure if I discovered them this year or if they were released this year. I'm not sure. But anyway, here are my favorites so far for 2020. And we're going to start with primer. I'm sure you guys can guess what it is. Oh, and a lot of these things are actually on my skin, so we'll be doing like split screens so you can see some of these products in action. So we're going to start with the Victoria Beckham Cell Rejuvenating Priming Moisturizer. And this is not a new product for this year, but the shade Golden is definitely new, and that's what I have on my skin today. It's so beautiful. It just has such a lovely sheen. It is, I believe, skincare first and foremost before it is makeup, so it really just feels so wonderful on the skin. I have dry skin, so the extra layer of moisturizer is really great, and because she's come out with this golden version, it's just perfect for the summertime. So that's it, just not blended at all, but let me go ahead and kind of blend it in, and you can see that it just adds a little bit of sheen, a little bit of warmth to the skin. I am such a fan of a glowy base. I'm really not a matte foundation person, so this is perfect. And I like to use this under foundation. I like to use this in lieu of foundation if I'm feeling really low maintenance. It's fantastic. And if you use a sheer foundation over this, I think the combination is just really lovely. Like, the glow of this product will still shine through. The sheerness of the foundation will just kind of help and kind of like evening out your skin tone if you feel like you need a little bit of help. So I have been loving this product ever since I picked it up. Next up, I have some foundations to mention. So first up is the Kevyn Aucoin Stripped Nude Skin Tint, and this beat out quite a few lightweight, like kind of tinted moisturizer type of products. This is very lightweight. It has a very light coverage, and I love it. And quite a few came out this year. I feel like Sisley I almost said reformulated their tinted moisturizer. Tom Ford came out with a like glow tinted moisturizer. Armani came out with the Neo Nude like skin tint, something like that. Anyway, I like this one the best. I feel like this one is as lightweight feeling as it is lightweight looking, and I really like lightweight feeling products on top of them being lightweight in coverage as well. I really don't like feeling my makeup, and this just feels like nothing on the skin. It's so great, and it has just enough coverage to kind of, you know, even things out. It's definitely far from full coverage, and it's just wonderful on those days that you just want to do something really easy. If you just want to throw just, you know, a little bit on. I have it in the shade Medium ST04, and I think, you know, it's probably a little bit deep for my skin tone, but because it has such light coverage, it almost doesn't matter. So much of your natural skin tone kind of shines through. So I could probably go down to the 03 shade, but I don't think it matters too much. Anyway, I just really enjoy this one, especially as of late. It's just been striking the right note for me. You know, I've been doing, and I think a lot of us have probably been doing, really kind of more natural, more no makeup looks, between staying at home a lot more, probably not going into the office, wearing the face mask. It's just been like the right thing at the right time. So this is the first foundation I wanted to mention. And then the other two were foundations that I was loving like earlier in the year when the weather was cooler, and I actually have one of these on today. So this is the Tom Ford Shade and Illuminate Radiance Foundation. This is the one that comes in the bottle, and this is the one that comes in the cushion. So they're both Shade and Illuminate foundations. They're very similar. This one has an SPF 45. This one has an SPF 50. So the formulation definitely is a little bit different, but if I want a fuller coverage, if I want something like medium coverage, definitely buildable to something like medium full, then these are the foundations that I've been reaching for. I have the cushion on today just because I find that it's easier to kind of like sheer out than this one, because I go in with a sponge right into the cushion, and it just leaves my skin looking really healthy. It has this radiance, but it doesn't make me look oily in any way. It just has such a lovely finish, and it's long wearing, and I really enjoy that extra SPF coverage in there. So I just really, really love these foundations. I have some strange shade options going on here. So for the one in the bottle, the Soft Radiance Foundation with the SPF 50, I have the shade 4.7 Cool Beige. I ran to the Tom Ford boutique when they first got it in, and they didn't have all the shade ranges, and this was the closest one. And this one actually works pretty well. But then when the cushion came out, I ended up getting 4.0 Fawn, and this is what I have on my skin today, and I think this one works out really well. So the shade range in the Tom Ford foundations, not the cushion, not the last time I checked, but definitely in the bottle foundation, the shade range is so extensive that I feel like between 4.7, sometimes I'll get 2 buff, sometimes I've gotten 1.5 Ivory, I think is the name. Those are definitely, lighter, but all of those kind of work for me. I guess it kind of depends on, the time of the year. But my point is, because there's such a huge shade range, there really isn't that much difference between 2 and 4. So the 4 works for me, the 4.7 pretty much works for me, the 2.0 buff works for me as well. I have that in a bunch of different foundations. So that's really interesting when it comes to this foundation. But yeah, I just really, really love it. The only downside that I want to point out with these two foundations is they have a lavender scent. I think there's lavender oil in both of them, and I just don't like that fragrance at all. It fades very quickly. I don't smell it on my skin at all, especially the cushion. The cushion is lighter than the bottle foundation. The bottle foundation, I definitely smell the lavender a lot more. It definitely lingers a little bit longer. It fades eventually, but it does linger a little bit longer than the cushion. But I just love the finish, and it wears so well throughout the day. So big fan of these foundations, and definitely what I reach for when I want a little bit more coverage. All right, concealers. Let me talk about the one that I actually have on, the Uma Beauty Stay Woke Concealer, and I have it in the shade Fair Lady T2. This concealer is wonderful. It's really, really great. It is, it has like a little bit of a thicker consistency than the Dior concealer that I love, that you guys know I love, and I have that in shade 2N. That I don't believe came out this year, so I'm not talking about that one, and I talk about that one enough anyway. And this is definitely a product. I'm not sure when this came out. I don't think this was new this year. I think this came out much earlier. But anyway, correct me if I'm wrong down below in the comment section. But this concealer has a little bit of a thicker consistency than that Dior. What I love about this concealer is you get very good coverage. So I have this underneath my eyes, on my eyelids. So I have this all around my eyes. It doesn't crease, it doesn't fade, it's just a very well behaved concealer around my eyes. And I think what I love the most about this concealer is it's really, really versatile. I find that I don't have to powder it if I don't want to. I did today so I could show you a powder in action, but I don't think you need to powder this. I've used this without powdering it. It doesn't move, it doesn't crease. It's really fantastic. And I feel like I can use this concealer on my face. So I actually use this to conceal around my nose as well. I just feel like sometimes there's a lot of concealers out there that are meant for one or the other. And very rarely do I find a concealer that's versatile enough that it can kind of work for both. And this is one of those magical concealers. I am really enjoying this, and I think it is definitely one of the best concealers I've ever used. So that's the Uma Beauty Stay Woke Concealer. The other concealer I like is really only for the under eye. I've used it on my face, and I don't think it actually looks that good. It looks a little bit cakey, and that's the Pat McGrath. It is the Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Concealer, and the shade I use for this is L6. It's a little bit light. It's definitely a little bit brightening, but this concealer is very, very full coverage. I think as full coverage as this one is just a little bit more. And I have to be careful with this concealer. I feel like I cannot use a lot. If I use a lot, it does look very cakey and dry under my eyes. So I don't think it's quite as versatile as the Uma Beauty, but man, when you get it right, when you just put down a nice light layer of this concealer, it is like magic. It really is, just camouflages everything. It doesn't move, it doesn't crease, all those things. But I can only use it around my eyes. Again, like I mentioned, I can't use it on my face. I feel like it looks a little cakey. And when it comes to this concealer, I find that I do have to set it. I find that it does crease if I don't set it. Yeah, when I use just a little bit and I set it, it's like it's like I have brand new skin underneath my eyes. It's pretty magical. On most days, I don't really do anything full coverage. I don't have full coverage foundation on, a powder, or a concealer. So I don't use this often, but when I want to look like a mannequin, then I go for this concealer. And then the last concealer I want to mention, and I hesitate in calling this a concealer even though it technically is, but this is the La Prairie Skin Caviar Perfect Concealer. It is a concealer, but I like to think of it and refer to it basically as a tinted eye cream. It is so lovely underneath the eyes. It looks great. It feels great. It has the best texture. I mean, it really feels like eye cream, and it has this like light medium, I want to say light medium kind of coverage. And that's just been perfect for me for this time, for me in general. It's just something that I'm in the mood for, just a lighter coverage base, just something really low maintenance. It's been wonderful. It lasts all day. I don't have a problem with it, you know, fading strangely. It doesn't crease or do anything. And even though it's so emollient, I haven't found that it like interferes with anything. Usually if I use anything too emollient under my eyes, and if I don't powder it like really, really well, I'll find that like my eyeliner smudges a little bit more, or my mascara kind of transfers a little bit, or just, you know, things get a little messier around the eye because, you know, it's a little bit oilier under there. But I really haven't experienced that with this concealer. So that has been wonderful, because I really thought that was going to happen. And I thought, well, if that's the trade-off, that's the trade-off. But it hasn't happened. It's really been great. So I've been loving this concealer. Okay, powder. So I have 2 pressed powders and I have 1 loose powder. Let me talk about the loose powder because I'm actually not sure. Like, I think this is new, but whatever. Anyway, this is the Givenchy Prism Libre powder. I purchased this on Sephora. It said it was new, like all the things. And I don't know if I wasn't familiar enough with the original powder line to know whether or not this is actually a new shade or if it's just like renamed. You know, sometimes I just kind of want to like freshen up the line, but they don't like completely redo it. Anyway, I purchased it in the shade number 3 Vol Rosé. And again, this is something I've mentioned a couple of times, but this shade I think is a little bit too cool toned for my skin. I did apply it like all over my face, and you'll see it in this clip here. And you can almost see that it looks a little bit white on my skin. So I think this will be great in the fall winter for me. And if I get around to it, I'll get like a warmer version of this powder. But anyway, what I love about this powder is the finish. It's really, really lovely. I think it leaves your skin, like it sets your makeup, but it doesn't like mattify it really. I mean, it mattifies it a little bit, especially if you have a lot of radiance going on, but it leaves this like nice kind of like satin soft kind of effect to your skin, and I really love it. It's very, very finely milled. It's very easy to blend. I feel like even if I pick up like a little bit too much powder, it dusts away very easily. I don't feel like I look cakey or I have to be too careful with this powder. It just looks really nice on the skin. So I really have been enjoying that. And then the powder that I have underneath my eyes is the Pat McGrath Under Eye, the names of this, Skin Fetish Sublime Perfection Blurring Under Eye Powder. So I have this under my eyes, and I pretty much just mix the light and the medium together. So what I do is I just kind of put my brush kind of between the 2 pans, the light and the medium. So the medium I find to be a little bit too deep, and the light I find just to be a little bit too white, and I really don't like that. So I find the combination of the 2 really works. But I use this underneath my eyes, and you know, it's interesting, just like the concealer, I find I have to be a little bit careful with this powder. I have to use a very light touch, and when I do, you get this like instant blurring effect. It is very, very magical. It is very, very beautiful, but I find that I can go a little bit overboard with this powder because, you know, I'll go between the 2 pans, and sometimes I don't look at my brush, I'll just go right in, and sometimes I have a little bit too much on my brush, and I feel like it makes my under eyes look a little bit cakey, a little bit dry. But again, just like the concealer, if I get it right, it is so, so beautiful. So that's what I have underneath my eyes, and it is really, really wonderful. It is very blurring when you put on like a nice light layer. And then the last powder I have to mention, and every time I talk about this powder, I think of Teresa is Dead. She's a friend of mine here on YouTube, and she loves this powder too. And we've talked extensively about our love of this powder and this brand. But this is the Chantecaille Hummingbird Blurring Powder. So this is one of those really interesting like baked powders. There's like no kick up or anything when you use this powder. It almost like reminds me of like a clay brick, but it does a fantastic job blurring. I like using it kind of like over my pores here. It really does this like, oh, like this really blurring filtered effect for your face. It's really wonderful. You can use it to set your makeup. You can use it to kind of finish off your makeup if you want, you know, more of a blurring effect. It does have a little bit of a pigment to it. It's like a light kind of peachy pigment to it, but once you kind of blend it in, it just does the blurring. It's really fantastic. So Teresa was thinking about getting a backup of this. I'm kind of thinking the same. I'm kind of wearing away the pattern in the front there. So anyway, this is really a fantastic powder. All right, so bronzers. As you guys know, I love a glowy bronzer. I like bronzer with like a satin sheen to it. I'm not opposed to a matte bronzer, but they just don't appeal to me quite as much as a bronzer with some sheen to it. So these two bronzers both have quite a bit of sheen to them. The first one is the Clinique Powder Pop Flower Bronzer in Solar Pop. And this is one of those beautiful baked gelée bronzers. This bronzer has such a beautiful like peachy undertone that I feel like when I apply this, I can pretty much kind of sweep it all over my cheek, and it can kind of double as bronzer and blush. So again, you know, with this sort of like low maintenance makeup that I've been loving, this has been really great because I kind of killed two birds with one stone. So that's the Clinique. Love the formula, love the color. It's just really, really stunning. And I just love that baked gelée appearance on the skin. Oh, it just kind of like melts down and just looks like as one with the skin. It's really gorgeous. Anyway, the other bronzer is of course the Kosas Sun Show bronzers, and I have light and medium. So this is what I have on my face today. The light, I will kind of lightly sweep all over my face. I won't just put in those kind of like bronzer areas. And the sheen on these are just unbelievable. Unbelievable. There's a lot of like shea butter in this powder, and can you see like the sheen right there? Yeah, it's really beautiful. So these bronzers have a little bit of warmth to them. Same with the Clinique. I think that peachy undertone gives a little bit of warmth, and I really like that in the summertime. I definitely lean towards neutral and cooler toned bronzers for the fall winter. But for the summertime, when I do have a little bit of natural color, I'm using a little bit more self tanner. The warmth in these bronzers really help accentuate that. It really helps me look a little bit healthier than I am. So the light I use, like I said, lightly dusted all over my face, and then the medium I will use to kind of bronzer. So this is the medium, and I have that like, you know, in the hollows of my cheeks, kind of around the perimeter of my face. I just love using both of these. I love the sheen of both of these. I think they just blend out beautifully. They're just gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. I love, 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 love these bronzers. I have quite a few blushes. I really wanted to try and whittle down this list, but I wasn't able to. So here we go. Let me first mention like my newest find, because I don't think this is new for this year. It's new to me, but I really have no idea because I'm actually not that familiar with the Dior Beauty line. But this is the one that I picked up in my Nordstrom try-on haul, and this is shade 219. I am so in love with this blush. It is really, really just such a gorgeous color. It has a gorgeous sheen. You're gonna hear me say that a lot, but this has, I mean, it's one of those, like the Clinique I can sweep on and use as like bronzer and blush. This I feel like I can sweep on and use as a blush and highlight. It has that much of a sheen. It is so, so beautiful. It is like the perfect marriage between like pink and peach. It's not one or the other completely. And I just love it. I feel like it just kind of goes with everything. And I've been going really hard with this blush. So again, I don't know if this was new for 2020, but it was definitely new for me. The other blush I want to mention is another Dior blush, and this was new for 2020. And I believe this one may be sold out, but this is the one that came out with the Color Games collection. This is the Pink Pong. This shade was just so much fun because it is this cool kind of like bubblegum pink, but then there's like this really kind of like metallic, like, I don't know if there's like a color shift, but there's definitely like a little bit of like reflection in there, and it just makes the bubblegum pink a little bit more interesting. It's just really, really stunning. When I'm looking for something cool toned and really bright, I've been reaching for this guy. So that's the Pink Pong from Dior, and I apologize if this is sold out because it was limited edition, and I think I only found it on the Dior site. Anyway, I will link it down below. Maybe they'll get a restock. And then the last powder blush I want to talk about is one that I have on my face today. And I used this a lot earlier this year as blush and as eyeshadow. This is the NARS Tempted blush. And I know this is a new color. NARS blushes themselves aren't new, but this was a new color. And do you see that sheen? It is so pretty. This is another blush I feel like if I wanted to skip the highlighter step, totally. This has enough kind of sheen and makes like my cheek glow enough all by itself. It's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous. So it's very, very peachy toned. It is on the lighter side, but will you look at that? Will you look at that reflection? And it's so smooth. I love NARS blushes. They're very smooth. They're easy to blend out. They are definitely on the, more pigmented side. So I feel like, you kind of have to be careful with them. I love it. Absolutely love it. And I would have put this in my eyes today if I didn't have an eye product that I wanted to talk about. But that is the NARS Tempted blush. And then let's move on to a couple of cream blushes here. So this one I think is, well, I'm going to call it a blush, but this is the Westman Atelier Super Loaded Tinted Highlight, and this is not a new product. This actually came out when she released her line a couple years ago, but this shade, the Peau de Rosé, is a new shade for them. So this is just a beautiful, I feel like this is the cream light pink version of that NARS Tempted blush. There's so much sheen to it, but there's that pinkiness, and they do call this a highlight. For me, it's a little bit, there's like a little bit too much pink in there to be a highlight, so I kind of like using it as like a highlight blush topper. Like I'll just kind of dab it pretty much all over my cheekbone, and it's really beautiful. It's definitely cool toned. So if I'm looking for something on the cooler side, this is definitely one I've been reaching for. And then the last cream blush product I want to talk about, I'm not sure if these were new in 2020, but these are the Tower 28 Beach Please Luminous Tinted Balms. I have Magic Hour and Happy Hour. I love these. They have such an awesome texture. They're very, very balmy. So they're not too slick in any way. There's definitely a little bit of tackiness to it. And once you like tap it in, they just sort of stay put without being too tacky or too sticky, or yeah, they just kind of dry down really beautifully and they don't fade for me. I've been able to use powder blush over it really nicely. I've been able to tap this over powder blush really nicely. They're just really, really well formulated. They're very versatile, and yeah, I love them. And these colors are beautiful. Obviously this is a little bit more nude, and this is great if you want to look like, you've been in the sun, you have a little bit of like heat to your cheeks. I love these. I've been raving about these for a long time now. So those are from Tower 28. Those are all of the blushes I have to talk about, which were a lot. I apologize. Let's move on to highlight. These were the only products that stood out to me. I think highlighters are still very popular. I think people still use them, but are companies kind of slowing down on like the highlight releases? Yeah, I feel like there haven't been as many, or maybe I'm just being delusional. Anyway, these are the highlights that came to mind and what I have on my cheeks today. But this is the Guerlain Meteorites Pearl Dust Palette. This is the one, the big old palette that has like the 3 highlights in there. It smells like violets. I absolutely love it. And it's gorgeous. I have a mixture of like this white shade with the pink on my cheeks today. And it has such a high shine, but not glittery. It's just a very smooth, kind of like metallic, glossy, wet looking kind of sheen. Let me swatch these for you. So those are the 3 shades. So we have like basically like a white gold, a pink, and then one that's more peachy toned. So really, really beautiful on the skin. And then they also came out with this liquid highlighter pen, which is like wow. There's a few shades. I can't remember what's available, but I picked out 2 Pearly Gold, and this is the Meteorites Liquid Pearls. So this is one of those, you know, pens with the fuzzy sponge top. This liquid highlight is so intense, so intense. I really blended it out there, but it's really intense. You don't need a lot. This was just what was left over on the sponge tip. You don't need a lot, and it just gives your skin like really high shine. I was actually surprised, but it is very high shine. So these 2 highlight products from Guerlain, gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. All right, eyebrows, I've got nothing to offer you. I'm still just using my Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel because I'm really lazy. There are some other products that I've enjoyed, like the Chanel one, but I keep going back to the Tom Ford just because it's so much easier. So anyway, that's it for eyebrows. Eyeshadow. There's so many palettes that I'm in love with, but again, it's sort of like the Kevyn Aucoin skin tint. I'm just in the mood for like low maintenance, natural, no makeup, and the Westman Atelier iPods. These just recently came out. The Les Nuits and the Le Jour, the day and night. It's like exactly what I'm looking for these days. They're easy to use, they're gorgeous. I have the Tobacco color from the Le Jour trio here, and I have that all over, and then I have the Chocolat shade, which is a deeper brown. I have that like on the outer kind of corners of my eyes, but they're just really easy to use. They're fun to use. The colors are gorgeous. Here's the Tobacco. And like I keep saying, it's like just exactly what I'm looking for these days. I love eyeshadow palettes. They're so much fun. The Natasha Denona palettes that have come out, gorgeous. Pat McGrath palettes, those are gorgeous. I love the Tom Ford quads that have come out, but there's been nothing like quite as easy as these because you can just use one shade in here, sweep it all over your lid, and you're done. And I love the formula. They have this kind of like bouncy, putty kind of formula. They're not too dry, they're not too goopy, so they're just easy. They're just really easy. I can use my finger, I can use this baby blender brush from Westman Atelier, which is what I use today, and they're great, and they come in this like great packaging. I feel like if you want it, I don't really touch up my eye makeup when I'm out and about, but if you wanted to, you could just throw this into your bag like really easily. There's no worry about any powders breaking or anything like that. And when it comes to eyeshadow, I really like kind of like rotating and alternating what I'm using or whatever, but these have just been sitting on my vanity and I've just been reaching for them. I haven't gotten sick of them. I haven't been reaching for them just because I'm like lazy. Like I want to use them. I just keep reaching for them because I want to use them. I don't find that they fade. I don't find that they crease. I've been using them for weeks now, pretty much nonstop, and I love them. I love them. This is definitely like a big 2020 release for me. These are fantastic. Mascara. So I just discovered the Ilia Limitless Lash Mascara. It's what I have on. I think it is fantastic. I don't know if this was released in 2020, but anyway, I'm going to mention it. This just appeared in my favorites, so I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself. But I really like the effect that it has on my lashes. Volumizes them, lengthens them, you know, does all the things you want mascara to do. But I just like how like light the mascara feels. It doesn't feel like goopy and sticky and stiff. I just really hate, oh, I've mentioned this already. I really hate like feeling my makeup. And this doesn't feel like I have mascara on. And most mascaras, and I think we all just kind of get used to it, but most mascaras are really, they like really stiffen up your lashes, or they're just really sticky. Like sometimes when you blink, like your 2 lashes will kind of like stick together. I hate that. That makes me absolutely nuts. And I never get that with this. And it's wonderful. So lips. Okay. I'm going to start with the Hermes Poppy Lip Shine. I just love this. Hermes released these lipsticks. Oh my gosh, was it this year? It was this year, right? Oh, I'm losing track of time. I believe it was this year. Anyway, I love this Poppy Lip Shine. It has little gold flecks in there, and it's just this very lightly tinted balm. And it's gorgeous. It's like something I throw in my bag. I don't throw this one in my bag at the moment. I'm afraid I'm gonna leave it in there and it's gonna melt. It's been really hot here. So this I'm keeping kind of pristine in my room at the moment. And it has a very light fragrance. It doesn't bother me, and it's just, oh, it feels great on the lips, and it gives your lips such a beautiful shine. So that's the Hermes Poppy Lip Shine. And then this color from Jimmy Choo is fantastic. So this is the number 4, Coral Kiss. And this is one of those crazy Jimmy Choo lipsticks. And this color, oof, is just, it's like electric. It like glows. This is such a perfect color. There's a lot of corals that are a little bit too orange, or a lot of corals that really are just kind of like red. This one, oh, it just like strikes the right note. It has just enough orange in there to really make it bright and glowy. Oh, this is like such a beautiful color. So this is Coral Kiss from Jimmy Choo, and the formula is wonderful. This is the satin formula. It's, as you can tell, very, very pigmented. This was just one swipe. Very pigmented, very, very silky feeling on the lips. It's a great formula. It's really wonderful. And then we have this Chanel Rouge Coco Flash. This is fairly new, but this is color number 114. This is the one that I talked about in my Nordstrom haul, and I also talked about in my favorites as well. But this is another one of those really bright shades. But there's something about this Rouge Coco Flash formula that is amazing. It's like an amped up version of like a tinted balm. It's also juicier than a balm, the formula. It's not quite as like dense and sticky as a balm. It's just fantastic. I love it, and I'm so glad I picked up this color. I wasn't sure, you know, it's hard to tell the little nuances between corals and reds online, and wow, I'm so glad I picked this up. So that's number 114 in Rouge Coco Flash. And then I have 2 glosses to talk about. Tower 28s. Can you tell I really like orangey lip products? This is Fire, and this is their Shine On Lip Jelly lip glosses. These are just so much fun. I love this formula. It really is kind of like jelly-like. They're not sticky, but they're not oily. So they're not like a lip oil. They're not really like a lip gloss. They're really just, they're just very, very unique, I find. And it really gives your lips just a hint of color. They're not very pigmented at all, but it's almost like a tinted moisturizer for your skin. It just does a little something to your lips so that they don't look totally bare. So that's the Tower 28 lip jelly. And then what I have on my lips is the Wayne Goss lip gloss in antique rose. I really love the lip glosses from Wayne Goss. They are really comfortable. The colors are really, really beautiful. There's a little bit of mintiness, which I'm not always the biggest fan of, but it's so faint. It's just like a hint. It's just to kind of make your lips feel fresh. It doesn't do anything like make your lips tingle or anything like that. It really is just to add a little bit of freshness. And I really enjoy it actually in this formula. So this is Antique Rose, and this is one that has like quite a bit of like shimmer, kind of like metallic sheen to it. And this is the one that I have definitely been reaching for the most out of all of them. I love them all, but that one is definitely the one I've been reaching for the most. All right, that is it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please let me know what some of your favorites from 2020 have been so far. You guys, we're more than halfway through. We're gonna get through this. We're gonna get through 2020. I hope you guys are all doing well and staying safe. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe down below if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video.